What do you know about local politics? Do you know who your city council members are? What changes are coming to the city? Here at Hayward 18, we see the potential that young people have to affect the future. That future starts at home, here in Hayward. We meet each of the members of the City Council of Hayward and get a chance to see what they're all about, what projects they're working on, what their goals for the future are, and their past accomplishments. See the people who affect your day-to-day and learn how you can get involved here on Hayward 18.
Hi, my name is Marisol Cabrera, and I am here with Chabot TV, and I am here with Council Member Elisa Márquez, and she's here to talk to us a little bit about what she's doing here in the city of Hayward to improve the city. So, Elisa, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And so, how, as you've been here for a very young age in Hayward, correct?
My entire life.
Yes. So, what inspired you to do something for the city of Hayward as you were growing up here?
For me personally, I started as an activist. As a teenager, I was very active with the city of Hayward and local nonprofits. I actually helped organize a walkout with my peers my sophomore year in high school, and the request of the walkout was to demand from the school district that we wanted education and staff to represent our community, the diversity, because we felt that that was lacking. So that was my first kind of exposure to local organizing and just knowing that there is life beyond my neighborhood. So I would say that was my first kind of connection to service within the city of Hayward.
Okay. So at what age did you decide you wanted to become part of the city?
For me personally, it occurred in 2006. I actually, one of my mentors is a professor here, Francisco Cermeño. In 2006, we had a council member that passed away, Mateo Jimenez. He used to be our fire chief, and at the time he had served on the council, I believe, over 20 years, and he passed away unexpectedly. So because of his passing, there was an opportunity for the mayor and the council to appoint someone to take his seat. And so I participated in that meeting. Francisco Cermeño, El Mendel, Marvin Pachot, who are all on the council now, were applying to be appointed. And I spoke on behalf of Francisco Cermeño, encouraging the mayor and the council to appoint him. Ultimately, they didn't. They went with Doris Rodriguez, who was recently retired from the council. But I was there in the council chambers, and I watched that entire deliberation and everything unfold. And I basically told myself, this is going to happen again. It had already happened in my lifetime. That was the third time. So basically, I told myself in 2006 that I wanted to prepare myself so that when the opportunity presented itself again, I wanted to feel confident enough that I could at least apply for the opportunity. No guarantee that it would be mine, but I wanted to build my resume and be prepared to be considered as a viable candidate when and if there was another opportunity to be appointed. And that happened in 2014. That's how I initially got on the council.
And being a woman, and a Latina woman specifically, a minority, how was the process for you? Did you overcome any obstacles? How many obstacles did you have to overcome?
I think personally for me, number one, my most important role in life is being a mother. I had my daughter my senior year of college, so I was very committed to raising her and doing what's in her best interest, but also feeling as a mother and someone who is deeply rooted in the community, you kind of tend to want to go beyond your own family and help others. So for me, it was really, really important to serve others. And I think just being a woman in leadership, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman of color or of privilege, we have various challenges that people basically doubt our ability, they doubt our intentions, and people say really offensive things. I remember interviewing for different positions, and people asked me, well, how are you going to be able to manage this? You're a mother, you're a student, because I also went back and earned my master's. And I was really offended by that because, I'm a person of integrity and I know my commitments. So if I decide to do anything, it's because I know I can commit the time and energy. But then to have people publicly doubt you, it's really unfortunate, but that is the reality. And that's just one example of many challenges women and women of color have to face when they step up to be involved in roles of leadership.
Okay. And how is basically the city council, how are they committed to helping out other minority groups here, especially with all the ICE raids going on and everything in politics, everything in Washington going on?
I think overall the city of Hayward is a very inclusive community. If you drive around town, you see the signs attached to our city limit signs and welcome to Hayward that they say no room for racism. That was a campaign that started in the 80s, and I grew up with that campaign. I remember being in elementary school and seeing the bright pink fluorescent bumper stickers just all over our community. So we've always had that mindset of being open and inclusive, and now more so with everything going on the federal level. We declared ourselves a sanctuary city last June. As you know, our state is now a sanctuary state as well, but we're definitely open and accessible and respect all the various backgrounds, culturals, religious, immigrant, refugee, whatever that might be. For me personally, I feel that the city of Hayward is a place that accepts people for who they are, and we really try to go above and beyond to make sure people feel included in the process.
And as a city council member, you guys are trying to outreach to the youth right now. Voting is very important at this time right now. So what would be your message to the youth, minority groups as well, our young people coming out, what would be your message for them?
To get involved, find out what your passion is, whether it's a specific cause, whether it's immigration issues, health issues, education, whatever that cause is. I encourage them to volunteer and get active in nonprofits or governmental entities that are pursuing those missions that they're interested in. Reach out to your elected officials. We're extremely accessible. For me personally, when I did finally run for my candidacy for city council, I had probably over 40 youth working on my campaign at various levels, whether they're volunteers or actually on my committee. So really exposing them to campaign work and getting involved. We have the Youth Commission with the City of Hayward that I encourage all youth to apply, encourage them to get involved with our Keep Hayward Clean and Green Task Force. I also tell our youth that they can register to vote at age 16. They're not eligible until they're 18, but they can register at 16. And those in our community that are undocumented, they still have a voice and they still have a say. So they can get involved in campaigns. They could come speak at council meetings, at school board meetings, write letters, emails, whatever it takes just to get their opinions and thoughts across to decision makers. I encourage everyone to do that, to really pay attention, read the meeting minutes, come to meetings, watch us on TV, and just reach out to us. I could speak for myself, and the majority of my colleagues were extremely accessible, available, and willing to hear what the youth have to say.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, and
thank
you for taking your time and answering my questions.
I appreciate it, the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elisa, welcome to Hayward 18.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm sure that it's been a busy morning.
It has.
Excellent. Well, that's how we like you, busy all the time.
Yes.
Elisa, you're here because you're one of the council members in the city of Hayward. You work with 6 other people, one of them being the mayor of Hayward. This is a very important year for all citizens of Hayward. It's an election year in 2018 in November. Your seat is not going to be up for grabs this year, but several of them are. So you're going to have, possibly you're going to have some new co-workers and then your own seat, and I assume you're going to run for your own seat in 2020. So thank you for being here. Some people don't know what the world or the job of a council member and woman is. So can you maybe give us a picture of what that looks like?
Absolutely. So I was appointed to the council in July of 2014 to fill a 2-year vacancy that became available when Barbara Holliday was elected as mayor. So I did that because it's always been my goals and aspirations to serve as a council member, to serve my community. And when I got that appointment, I really gave myself 6 months to learn the role and responsibility of the job. And there's honestly no way for an individual to know until they're actually doing the work.
Sure.
The bulk of it is attending a lot of meetings. We meet nearly every Tuesday night. We also have committee assignments. I'm on over like 7 committees, and I serve leadership roles on those committees as well. So just to kind of give you a glimpse of the role of a council member, it is a lot of reading, attending a lot of meetings, responding to emails and constituents, and also engaging with the community, going to community events, and really delving deep into the issues and asking staff hard questions with regard to what is really being done on a policy level for our city. We also adopt the city budget. The mayor and the council, they are only responsible for hiring 3 individuals in the city. That is the city manager, the city attorney, and city clerk. We also don't have any staff. So I just kind of wanted to clear that up for the public. A lot of people think that we have staff, that we have the role and responsibility of hiring and firing our City of Hayward employees, and we don't. That responsibility lies with the city manager.
at least they must pay you a fortune, right?
No, they don't.
So I think that it's important to clarify that a lot of
Yes.
these positions, people need to have jobs,
Absolutely.
sometimes full-time jobs, and then balance all of these with, in many cases, family life. Tell us how you do that. I know that you have a job, and it's a very demanding, and there's a lot of responsibilities on what you do. And on top of that, you go to the meetings and you make decisions. And let me ask you something. Do you write policy? Do you make law?
We don't, staff does. We give staff direction, but we definitely have a say. It's our responsibility to read every word. So if there's something we're not comfortable with, we have to collectively decide. You need at least 4 votes to get anything to pass on the local level, but we have a say in the policy direction, and we give policy direction to the city manager, but it's the city manager's task and the city attorney's task to actually write the legislation.
Okay.
We adopt it.
Okay, excellent.
But can I go back to your
Yes,
juggling
please do.
act?
How do you do it?
So I appreciate the question,
Sure.
because I think it's really important for women, young men, everyone to know that there is a role and a place for you to be involved in local government. It is a huge time commitment. I can honestly say people that are doing it for the love of service and improving their community, because as you mentioned, the pay is not substantial. For the city of Hayward, it's less than $25,000 a year. So with that, naturally, you can't live off of that. So I do have a full-time job in order to meet my family responsibilities. And I'm also the mother of a teenage daughter who's getting ready to go to college. So it is constantly a juggling act, but I do it because I don't feel that I can change everything in my community, but I know I have a lot to offer, and I want to see things continue to get better, but keeping in mind what's in the best interest of people that have lived in Hayward for decades. We're doing a lot of growth and a lot of expansion, and that's great. I welcome new people to Hayward, but we also have to be very mindful of the people that have lived here for decades.
Absolutely, and you're in an excellent position to do that, to show or exercise your leadership skills, and you represent so many people. You represent mothers, you represent Latino, you represent everybody. So that's very interesting. You're in an excellent position to do that. Now, I know your career in politics has been somehow short. You started in 2014. You were appointed.
Correct.
You already explained the process. Then you ran for your position in 2016. You won. And that means that we have you well and solid for another 2 years. You're going to be working with maybe new people, but basically you're going to continue in your role. Well, we hope that you come back when your seat is up for grabs, because we would like to give you the opportunity to talk to the people.
Thank you.
You work as a probate court investigator, and I find that fascinating. Can you and this is not the object of the interview, but can you give us a little glimpse?
So my background, obviously, I care about servicing the community. One thing I'm very passionate about is our elderly population and people with developmental or physical disabilities. I feel that people have the right to continue to live in their home, and I've always had jobs where I ensure that services are put in place so people can retain their independence living at home rather than going into a nursing home or institution. So housing is constantly a reoccurring theme in my life in the policy decisions I make, but my job as a court investigator is I make recommendations to a judge on whether or not someone should be conserved, and that means can an individual actually make decisions for somebody else because they no longer have the capacity to do so. That has to be determined by a doctor. So I'm able to use my social work skills. I need to go into the home, assess the situation, is it safe, do a background check on the person that wants to be the responsible party, and ultimately give a recommendation to the judge. The individual that is coming under the conservatorship, they have the right to object, they have the right to an attorney, they have the right to say I prefer someone else. So it's really hearing the voice of that individual and presenting that information to the judge, because of course a judge can't go into the home and do that type of investigation work. So it really, for me, what I do at the city, it's serving my community and fulfills that passion. But what I do in my job, it's from a legal perspective of ensuring that someone's rights are intact and that they have the ability to continue to live at home. So I feel as if I'm their advocate and making sure that that's possible.
Correct. And I was going to say exactly that. You're in a way an advocate. You present facts that are personal facts
Correct.
to a legal professional in order to get a recommendation.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you a few questions. and then maybe you can answer. I have a few of them, so don't feel like you have to spend a lot of time on them.
Okay.
So I know there's Sohei is coming to Hayward. What can you tell us about that? How is that going to impact the city? I know it's a huge project. So.
It's a huge project. So that is an agreement the city went into with Caltrans property to dispose those parcels because they never built the freeway they intended to build. So there's a lot of land on Mission Boulevard, and that project already came before us. But we're doing something I think that's extremely effective with the city of Hayward is on major projects or parcels that people have a lot of interest in. We're making sure that we bring the projects early on for high-level conceptual review. So this was brought to us over a year ago. And during that process, I shared my concerns. Number one, I didn't feel like they were maximizing density. It's literally a 2-minute walk from that parcel to South Hayward BART. I also felt like the retail that they were recommending was not adequate, and there was absolutely no affordable housing. So I made that clear over a year ago that I would not be supporting it unless it had those things that I was looking for. It came back to us recently with some improvement. I will give the developer credit. They did make some changes, but in my opinion, it's not enough. Land is very sacred and limited in our community. So when we have significant parcels, in my opinion, we truly need to be maximizing density. And that's where we need to build up, especially in such close proximity to South Hayward. So I was the only one that voted against that project, but it did pass with a 6-1 vote.
Everybody is very excited about this project, but sometimes we don't know if it's going to benefit people from Hayward, or is it going to just bring a lot of people to beautiful homes? But are we forgetting the residents of Hayward who, pay really high rates for sometimes for conditions that are not ideal? Now, speaking of housing, I know that other than this development, Hayward has been somehow slow in responding to the needs of the growing population. So are there any other projects that are in the horizon for Hayward to really address the needs of the Hayward population?
We actually are doing a lot better than other cities. Unfortunately, housing is a regional statewide issue. City of Hayward is definitely doing their fair share of meeting low, very low and affordable housing. I can't say that about our neighboring cities. We can always do more and do better, and I feel that we finally have a mutual understanding on the council that this is a priority. So one of the policies we enacted is developers have the option to pay in lieu fees or develop on site. Last year we increased those fees, we quadrupled the cost of the fees, so we're going to get more money, which is really, really important because A1 is a housing bond that passed in Alameda County, and we'll be able to leverage more funds by collecting those fees. So Hayward is definitely doing their part. We could always do better, but we are not lacking.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Something that it's on the news every day, and I feel like it affects many of the Hayward families very directly, is the problems that we're having with ICE and our denomination of sanctuary city. What do you have to say about that?
I'm really proud of our city. It took us a while so let's be clear here. The city of Hayward has always had policies with the police department to protect our residents. So when we declared ourselves a sanctuary city last June, it was just basically recommitting the policies that are already in place and letting the public know, because that's not information that everyone had access to. But what I really appreciate about our city is we can't unfortunately prevent, if they have a warrant in order to come into our community. What we have done is if that's going to take place, we want to make sure that we have local nonprofits that understand the needs of our immigrant community that could respond to those families in the event that there is someone that is taken into custody. We want to be responsive and provide that family with resources, legal services, as well as other services to help improve their situation.
So it's government working with the civil institutions
with local nonprofits.
protect residents regardless of their status.
Correct, and it was very important that we did that. We didn't want someone from the police department to come and say, how's it going? How can we help you? We didn't feel that that would be appropriate, so we really wanted service providers that understand the cultural needs of our community.
Okay. In the council, there's going to be a challenge to the mayor by one of the council members. There's 2 seats that are going to be available. Do we have a divided council, or do we have a unified group of representatives?
I think we all work very well together,
Okay.
even though we
That is
have.
what I've heard,
Yeah,
yes.
even though we have colleagues running against each other. If you watch our meetings, if you attend our meetings, we always maintain a level of respect, professionalism, and civility, and that's what I really appreciate about the City of Hayward. If you watch other council meetings, that's not always the case from other communities. So I wouldn't say we're divided, but we're definitely. There are individuals that have already declared their support. So I think it's up to each individual person based off their working relationship and who they're going to support for their candidacy. But at the end of the day, we don't control the election. The voters get to decide. And I think any one of us that are sitting up there would be willing to work with anyone that the voters select.
Excellent, excellent. I really like that. Obviously, the purpose of this show is to increase the electoral participation, and so they will speak, they will be heard. I wanna ask you something about, and I think that Marisol already asked a little bit, but I want to give you the opportunity to say more about your role, because whether you're aware of this or not, a lot of people are following your career. They look you as a mentor. You know, as a leader. There's a lot of Latin people that follow your career, that have their hopes put on you. There's a lot of women also that follow your professional career. So how does that impact you? What kind of extra responsibility or pressure do you feel?
I think it's a huge honor, and I'm
Okay.
extremely humbled. I've lived in Hayward my entire life. I was never involved in politics until my early 20s. But being younger and exposed to the mayor and the council and knowing who they were, I knew they were very important people in my community. One thing that always struck me is no one looked like me.
Yes.
So it was really difficult to really understand the value of those policies and decisions. So once I got more aware of what was going on in my community and I decided to get involved, I feel a huge amount of responsibility. I never claim that I know all the answers, because I don't, but I think what's gotten me this far is that I'm willing to listen and to try to build consensus amongst people that don't always agree, and that's not always easy to do, but it's a huge honor and responsibility. And I can say probably at least twice a week I'm asked to meet with young women that just kind of want some insight, some opinion, and I do that because I feel very fortunate. If you heard me speak earlier, all of my mentors in my life have been men.
Right.
So it's really, really important for women to support each other and to be accessible and to help guide them. You know, people have the right to make their own choices, but it's really important to share that knowledge and insight because we want to lift everyone up. That's my goal and objective, to lift young people up in my community.
And it's very important that young people get to look up at you and have access to you. I want you to tell us a little bit about your, I don't know if I should call them feminists, but I know that you're a very strong advocate for women. You feel, you have this crazy belief that women should feel safe wherever they go, even if it's at night. And I understand that, well, not every city has the ability to protect their residents in this way. In which way, or how are you trying, maybe working with the police to make sure that everybody in Hayward feels safe?
I think a lot of it has to do with design of our community. I was on the planning commission before I was appointed to the council, and with every project I would always ask, what is the lighting? That is so important to have lighting and signage and just, you know, access points and just teaching our young people, men or women, to be aware of their surroundings. There's just kind of like these life skills, and I feel very appreciative to grow up in Hayward because we've got some neighborhoods that are a little bit challenging, and I live in one of them, and I feel like it's made me very smart in terms of always, you know, just kind of know like who your neighbors are. Don't be afraid to like ask questions, but really the city's responsibility is just to kind of design the city in a way that people feel more safe.
I agree with you. I think that a lot has to do with regulations. So if you design the city with safety in mind, then you're gonna make it well lit. For example, I used to tell my students at Cal State that, well, you know, it's up to us to protect us. The police are gonna come to us once they are needed, but it's up to us to keep our homes safe and not invite crime. Tell us, if I'm a young person or I have a lot of friends, maybe I have some friends that are not going to be eligible to vote, maybe because of their immigration status or maybe because they are not registered. But still, I think that there are ways in which people can be engaged. Can you give me some recommendations? Can you give me some advice?
Yep.
There's people who maybe feel like they should be doing something, but they don't know what or what.
I would encourage them to volunteer on a campaign. If there's a candidate that they're interested in seeing be elected, they can help by calling voters. They can go precinct walking. They can help with fundraising. They can get involved with local nonprofits. And there's not just candidates that are going to be on the measures in November. The city is looking at putting 2 revenue measures on the ballot as well. So that's another way to get involved. And just don't feel intimidated. I know there's a lot of noise going on the federal level, but I think it's important for our youth just to be very proud of who they are and know that what they have to say matters. Their voice does matter, and they do have the right to speak up, whether they're documented or not.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So we have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to ask you just a couple of or a few key terms. They are part of your platform. I know that they are strong ideals. Maybe you can expand a little bit as with every one of them. Hayward Safe.
So like I said, it's just really important. I want people to feel welcome. I want them to feel connected and engaged no matter what neighborhood you're in Hayward. I want people to feel safe and secure.
Okay, excellent. A clean and green Hayward.
I love everything that we're doing in the city for sustainability issues. When I was on the Planning Commission, we were the first city in the Bay Area to adopt our Climate Action Plan. We've won numerous awards because of our green initiative policies. We're part of East Bay Clean Energy. We're a leader in that as well. Our city already, our businesses are under that program. In November, the residents will be participating, where they'll be able to get 100% carbon-free renewable energy. So that's our part in helping our planet and also creating local jobs.
Okay, ready for the last one?
Yes.
City of Hayward with a budget process that is transparent.
Yes, it is, absolutely. So whenever we talk about the budget, I don't think since I've been on the council we've had very many people come and speak, but everything is public. We announce when the meetings are. I encourage people to look at the budget. We do have a deficit. We are addressing it. We've had budget work sessions on Saturdays, numerous meetings discussing how are we going to meet that budget gap. Our employees have stepped up. The mayor and council, I don't think they've received a raise in over 10 or 15 years. So it's really going to take all of us collectively doing our part to address the fiscal matters. But we are all very responsible and prudent in making sure we're doing that so we could continue to provide excellent services to our residents.
Elisa, this has been great. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for the
We really
opportunity.
appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
This has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.